Come all young sailormen, listen to me. I'll sing you a song of the fish in the sea. Blow, ye winds, westerly, westerly blow. We're bound to the southward, so steady she goes.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello, welcome. First of all, thank you 1015 for hosting. I just got to meet the ownership here. What a great space. Really glad to get to MC here and then later play. So my first time MCing, it's about my 7th Fisher Poets. I've met Brad years ago here in Astoria, and we've connected a couple times since. So it's always really great to see familiar faces and wonderful to meet new. I always meet more new than I do see old because it's just such an expanding group of folks either visiting or participating. So thank you so much. We're going to get it started. Your first set. There may be 1 or 2 people missing because of weather-related travel issues and things. So we'll just kind of take it as it goes and fill it in. But to start here this evening is Jan Bono, Long Beach, Washington. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you. Yes, if you want to have a floor show too, just have me try and get up those stairs without having a cane or a help. You know, this is great. I can't see anybody here, so I'm speaking to an audience of none. That is really, make a noise or something. I'm good. Thank you. I am Jan Bono. I am from Long Beach, Washington. I've been over there for 45 years, a long time, and I have never commercial fished. That's my disclaimer. Okay, but my claimer is that my grandfather on my dad's side was a commercial fisherman on the Mississippi River back in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. And none of his 8 kids followed him onto the river, the old man in the sea, but he inspired us all to have a love of fishing. And my father sport fished, still does, he's 90s something, 4 or 5. And I was his fishing buddy from the time I was 2 until I was in my 20s and took off for college. And he taught me the love of being out there just holding a pole, waiting for something to bite the line. And he tied a rope around my waist when I was 2 and tied the other end to the oarlocks. Because he said he wasn't sure if I could float. That was before we had, little life preservers for kids too. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it's old. So, and then when I moved down to Long Beach, Washington, I started a teaching career down there, and I married, drum roll please, a commercial fisherman. So I refer to that now as my practice marriage. I'm still waiting for the real thing, but that was the warm-up thing. So I am your warm-up act for tonight, and and I will begin now by honoring the family I came from with a poem that's called "It Runs in the Family." And unlike some people, I have to take my glasses off to read. I know, there's other things that are backwards about me too, but that's the big one. I never met my grandfather on my father's side. My dad was only 16 when his old man died. But I've heard many tales of the risks he took on the Mississippi River while out setting a hook. My father's father was a fisherman by trade, working hard to earn every single dollar that he made. Gramps spent nearly all his life out there on the river, glad the fish buyers met the boat when he delivered. He caught German carp and drum and pike, but the tasty yellow catfish was what they'd really like. Yellow catfish paid a needed 5 cents a pound more and helped him keep the wolf away from their door. The boys helped out in summer when the hot sun shined. They set hoop nets from the boat and managed the jump lines. Each line had 50 hooks, and they were 10 feet apart. Pulling them in took muscles and a great amount of heart. One day, the boys were fishing, just standing on the shore, when a catfish took their line, pulled hard, and wanted more. They wrestled that fish in, though he put up quite a fight. It was the biggest catfish ever. Oh, it was quite a sight. They stuck a heavy tree branch right through the monster's gills, hoisted up on their shoulders and carried it on the hill. They used a cotton scale to weigh it, so no exaggerating, guessing while the weights were balanced, just anticipating. 39 pounds of catfish, the scale proclaimed. That catfish is huge, all the neighbors exclaimed. They got their picture taken, though cameras were rare. Doc on the left, Frank on the right, the credit did they share. Not one of 8 kids followed that old man to the sea, but my father loved to sport fish, and he passed that on to me. And when I eat fried catfish with Creole mayonnaise, I'm grateful for my heritage and father's good old days. And in case you think that's a fishtail, there's a picture here. This one is called The Smell of Money, and it's kind of self-explanatory. I looked forward to his returning and cooked his favorite meal, but one whiff of him as he crossed the lawn made my head begin to reel. I ran inside and locked him out and peered through the window glass. "What the hell?" he bellowed. "Open up and let me pass." He was covered in scales and gooey slime and all kinds of stinky stuff. So I told him just to wait outside because I'd already smelled enough. "Just what am I supposed to do? I can't strip naked while out here." "Oh, yes you can," I hollered back. "I've put up with this for years." I placed a beer out on the porch and a stack of fresh, clean clothes. But what I really wanted to do was spray him down with the hose. "If you're going to make a scene," he said, "make a scene when you see my check. We'll be able to take that vacation you wanted and rebuild the crumbling deck." He almost had me giving in and unlocking the kitchen back door, but I didn't want his boots to track across my kitchen floor. His face was turning purple, and I feared the look in his eyes, as I knew I'd have to find a way we'd make a compromise. "How about you shed just your boots and cap and your jacket and shirt and jeans? I'll let you keep your skivvies on and your socks if they're still clean." "Nothing doing," he said right away. "I'd be a laughing stock. I'm not undressing just to give the neighbors something to mock." We glared at each other in silence, not willing to give an inch, until the buzzer on the oven made me the first to flinch. I had to rescue dinner before it was all burned. You can't ignore the timer was a lesson I'd already learned. But as soon as I had left my post, I heard the doors swing free. Hadn't taken him very long to find my hidden key. He paraded through the kitchen, dropping clothes over here and over there. So when he got to the shower, he was down to his underwear. "You bastard," I shouted after him. "You don't fight fair at all." I should have saved my breath. I was just talking to the wall. But then I happened to notice what else he'd dropped, that filthy pig. But I had to squint my eyes real small because the numbers were so big. Well, maybe just this one more time, I'd forgive his smelly clothes, and learn to do the laundry with a clothespin on my nose. For the check I held was hefty and would get us even on the rent. And on all the other bills, I knew this would make one hell of a dent. So I went back into the kitchen and poured 2 glasses of wine so we could toast his safe return, though he still smelled less than fine. Well, all my poems are true stories, and the next 2 are a little more somber than that last one. This one was a man who was the owner of the boat my husband fished on, but he was out on another boat checking it out when they capsized. Their fishing boat had capsized in towering 20-foot seas. The 5-foot life raft tossed about on a vicious, freezing breeze. 2 men had made it to the raft, but they couldn't reach 2 more crew. Another was stranded below the deck, and there was nothing they could do. There'd been no time to don the suits, which would have helped them stay afloat. The trawler rolled fast, and then it sank. No distress signal from the boat. The waves increased to 40 feet. No point in trying to use the oars. They were headed north on the current along the Washington shore. After 40 hours at the ocean swim, the raft drifted close to the beach. They could see the lights of cabins that the men thought they might be able to reach. They heard the waves break on the beach, a quarter mile at best. They could sense their time was now, and this would put them to the test. Tumbled over and over in the surf, 3/4 drowned and mouthful of sand, one of them made it to the shore and crawled out on the land. 2 men had struggled in the dark, but only one emerged alone, somehow broke into a summer place where he used their telephone. "You've made it this far," the dispatcher said, "and I know that you are weak, but flash the inside house lights for the ambulance to seek." His rescuers drove up the beach where his family had often played. He thought of his wife and children, kept him from being so afraid. When they'd left the port together, the crew had numbered 5, but the fickle ocean mistress let only one come home alive. I was hoping that was as close as disaster would get to us, but it also took his brother-in-law, and this is dedicated and is about him, called "God Bless the Captain." They say the day was rather calm when the Golden Venture went down. 3 of the 4 who'd been on board were in the life raft that was found. The fishing vessel that picked them up was called the Hazel Lorraine back then. The distress call came from the captain, who thought only of his men. The trawler was simply making a turn like hundreds of times before. Her net was down when she came around, but disaster was in store. She went down near Yanoska Island in the Aleutian Island chain. 3 men were saved, but 1 was lost, and his name was Rodney Main. We know he died a noble death, but what about his wife? How hard it must have been for her to carry on with life. But men who fish for a living can't stay on land for long. The sea will always call them with a beautiful siren song. God bless the fishing vessels wherever they may roam, and God, please do the best you can to bring them all safely home. Okay, back to the levity. A bathtub of Chinook. I'd been married several years to a midwater dragger deckhand. Brown rock cod became a staple, fried, grilled, poached, or canned. He considered me a city girl when I became his wife, and he figured I didn't know how to use a fish filleting knife. So I sat back and let him think I couldn't clean no fishes. But nevertheless, I cooked his meal and made his favorite dishes. And when he wasn't out on the ocean, he sometimes fished for fun. And I might even go with him when there was a salmon run. At dawn one day, we struck it rich, quickly claiming our limit of Chinooks. Of course, I played the girl card and made him take out all the hooks. When we got home, he'd had a call and had to leave right away for the dock. So he threw our fish in the bathtub where he'd said he'd clean them later. What a crock. Now, I wanted to shower something fierce, but the fish were in my way, and I couldn't picture sharing the slime-filled tub with them that day. So I hauled them out one by one and gutted and cleaned and sliced, then packaged them up for the freezer and lined them all up in rows so nice. He got home late and cursed the fact we'd ever caught those fish. He said he'd hoped they'd disappeared. It would be his greatest wish. So I told him his wish was granted, that I'd given all the fish away to our neighbors down the street, really made their day. He hurried to the bathroom, saw the tub with no Chinook. I wished I'd had a camera to record his horrified look. He fumed, and he fussed, and he stomped around, called me a lousy whore. So I held my hand to stop him before he could say any more. Out to the garage I led him, opened the freezer door wide to see those salmon roasts and steaks all lined up there inside. He asked me who had done that, who had come and done this chore. I confessed that I'd been cleaning fish since I was only 4. He assumed I couldn't butcher fish, that I was just a pretty face. I guess he now learned his who assumes, and I'd put him in his place. But my story is a sad one, and it ends not quite so well, as from then on I was left to clean every fish from heaven or hell.
I'm going to give a little bio here. Next person is Jefferson, Holland, Annapolis, Maryland. I'm going to tell you about Jefferson. Jefferson, Holland is the poet laureate at Eastport, the waterman's maritime neighborhood across the harbor from Annapolis proper. A modern-day Chesapeake troubadour, a singer, songwriter, poet, storyteller, Jeff performs all original material inspired by decades of life on the bay. Jeff is the editor of the Chesapeake Bay magazine and writes an outdoor column in the Annapolis Capital. He lives in Annapolis with his emotional support spouse, Lewis White, and their rescue retriever, Millie. Welcome, Jefferson.
Oh, what a thrill to be here. I'm going to be doing some stuff from this chapbook, and it's available in the gearbox. So, Eastport is, again, a little neighborhood across the harbor from Annapolis proper. It's the traditional home of both black and white watermen, either working out in the water or working in places like the McNasty Oyster Company building, where that eventually became a museum that I was the founding director of. So it's a wonderful place to be. But there, the McNasty Company building is on Back Creek, and that's where everybody in the neighborhood goes in the summertime to go chicken neck. You've never been chicken necking? That's where you take a chicken neck and you tie a string around it, and you lower it down over the pier into the water. You wait for a nice Chesapeake Bay blue crab to come along and latch onto it, and then you scoop it up with a long pole net. So this is a song about crabbing on Back Creek, and curiously enough, it's called Back Creek Crab. I'm gonna get my bucket and a chicken neck, my own piece of string and a long pole net. Going down to Back Creek, I'm gonna get me some crab. I'm going down to Back Creek, sit in the pier, dangle my line while I sip on the beer. Going down to Back Creek, I'm gonna Back Creek crab. Give me some big fat male, let the little one go. If the scope but the big fat on the go. Hard crabs, soft crabs, even the shepherd. Take them home, I need them, the sooner the better. I don't need them, I don't need them, I need a Back Creek crab to satisfy a bad going. Down the Back Creek, I'm going to Back Creek crab. Your part's coming up, right? Buddy, get me some Back Creek crab. Put them on the seat. Give me Back Creek crab and a little old bay. Oh, a chateau free on any old day. I don't need a knife and I don't need a mallet. Just a Back Creek crab to satisfy my palate. Down the Back Creek, I'm going to Back Creek crab. Whoa, 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 whoa. Going down the Back Creek, I'm going to Back Creek crab. Wonder what we're going to do next. Chesapeake Bay is an inspirational place. It's the largest estuary in the entire continent of the United States. And it is 200 miles long. It stretches from where the Susquehanna River flows through Pennsylvania, down through Maryland and Virginia, and out into the Atlantic Ocean between Cape Henry and Cape Charles. And it is just a delightful place. And the progress has been made on restoring it to its original health. A lot of work has been done for the past 35 years, and we're getting there, making progress. Got a long ways to go. But one of the elements there is that the seagrasses are growing in certain places and kind of disappearing in others. And the grasses are ecologically important for the health of the bay. They provide a place for little critters to hide from their predators, baby crabs and fish. Also oxygenate the water, clean the water, provide all kinds of good things. And a lot of work is being done to try to restore the beds, the seagrasses. These are grasses that the environmentalists call submerged aquatic vegetation. Seaweed. So as a poet, I cringe at that phrase. If it's submerged, it's aquatic. But if you call it subaquatic vegetation, then there's music there. And what kind of music would it be but a tango? The baby boomer generation has fostered overpopulation, waterfront property inflation, development, deforestation. Deforestation leads to soil erosion that makes environmental devastation. But subaquatic vegetation. I forgot to mention this as a sing-along. So everybody on this side, sing with the S-A-V, ready? Submerged aquatic vegetation. S-A-V. 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 Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. All together now feeling. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V. Subaquatic vegetation. Comprehend this complication. Erosion brings about siltation, which covers up the vegetation, creating sunlight deprivation, flooding to water till the plants must desist. Their photosynthesis gives it a cause of condemnation. For subaquatic vegetation, everybody now. S-A-V, subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V, subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V, subaquatic vegetation. S-A-V, subaquatic vegetation. Now listen for your information. It's not the when the sun swings to its equinoctial position. They build a little fire down along the docks. They doff their shoes and they burn their winter socks. Yes, they burn their socks at the equinox. You might think that's peculiar, but I think it's not. See, they're the same socks they put on last fall, and they never took them off to work, not at all. So they burn their socks at the equinox in a little old fire, burn it nice and hot. Some think incineration is the only solution because washing them contributes to the Chesapeake's pollution. Through the spring and the summer and into the fall, they go around not wearing any socks at all, just stinky bare feet stuck in old deck shoes, whether out on the water or enjoying a brew. So if you sail into the harbor on the 21st of March, and you smell a snow like Limburger mixed in with laundry starch, you know you're downwind to the Eastport docks, where they're burning their socks for the equinox. There are lots of legends in the Chesapeake Bay tradition, and one of them is of a sea monster. It's not Nessie, it's Chessie. Let me tell you the story of Big Captain Dan, that oysterback son of an old waterman. One day last July, when he hauled out his traps, he found that he had a whale to catch. It was Chessie the sea monster, Chessie the sea monster, Chessie the scourge of the Chesapeake Bay. Chessie the sea monster, Chessie the sea monster, feared from Cape Henry to Havre de Grace. Now some sailors thought when they happened to see her that she was an eel or a plesiosaur, but Dan found a gigantic dog, a retriever, not a fish, not an eel, not a no dinosaur. Well, Big Captain Dan was astounded to see her, a 42-ton Chesapeake Bay retriever. She knocked down his boat with her 80-knot breath, then hauled out her tongue and near licked him to death. She was Chessie the sea monster, Chessie the sea monster, really not much of a monster at all, but an overgrown puppy with no one to feed her, so Captain Dan took her back home to Whitehall. She was big enough to have been Moby Dick's daughter. Her head was still dry in 5 fathoms of water. She made 6-foot wakes with a wag of her tail, and he made up her bed in the spinnaker sail. Now, not many people could ever get used to a pet twice the size of a railroad caboose, but Dan liked the way all the tourists would gawk when she followed his boat to the old city dock. Well, they got along fine till one day last November, a day Dan would rather not have to remember. She dug a deep hole like to bury a bone, but what did she bury? The whole State House dome. Oh. And then came the time that she went way too far and stirred up a scene like the Second World War. She jumped in to fetch a big stick, so Dan thought. But what she fetched back was the governor's yacht. Oh. Dan watched a platoon of dog catchers pursue her. It took a division of men to subdue her. They loaded her onto a truck with a crane and chained her up back of the FPG. Hey. Poor Chessie the sea monster, Chessie the sea monster, chained to a tree as a final resort. Once she could play all day long in the bay, but now she's held prisoner back of Eastport. Well, that winter the bay froze as thick as a glacier. Captain Dan felt too downhearted to face it. The wind froze the flame on the end of a match. The watermen couldn't get out for their catch. With the Chesapeake frozen as hard as a rock, and the workboats all stuck in their slips at the docks. Dan was becoming a mean old recluse, and to add to his troubles, Jessie broke loose. She had chewed through that tree like a pup chews a stick, except that this tree was a full 4 feet thick. Then she plunged to the ice and she cleared it away as she swam out the Severn and into the bay. Meanwhile, Dan sat alone by the stove shack, thinking they'd never let Jessie come back. Just when his poor heart couldn't take anymore, a big frozen nose burst in through the door. Captain Dan, called the place into trace. That dog of yours cut a big path through the ice. All the watermen cheered. All the watermen cheered. When they saw what she'd done, at last they could sail on the nice big dredge run. Get ready to say hooray for Jessie, hooray for Jessie, ready? Hooray for Jessie, hooray for Jessie. Jessie, Dan Hooker, you sure saved the day again. Hooray for Jessie, hooray for Jessie. Big finish. Jessie the hero of Chesapeake. Oh, you've heard it. Hey. Hey. Oh boy, we're having fun now. So, the Maryland State Song just got passed, which is a good thing. For since 1936, we had this horrible state song that was to the tune of O Tannenbaum for one minute. That wasn't the worst part of it. It turned out that it was all horrible Confederate propaganda, talking about, it was written about the riots in Baltimore when the first Union troops came through town on the way to occupy Maryland. So anyway, we finally got rid of it. And I've got a new contender for our new state song. It has nothing to do with Confederacy. I want to climb up to the mountaintop where people fly among the rocks and ramble with you hand in hand. That's my Maryland. I want to cheers my own home team scores while Orioles and Ravens soar above the pride of Baltimore. That's my Maryland. Oh, Maryland, my Maryland, from mountains to the sea. Don't Lake River flowing down to meet the Chesapeake. The harbor in Annapolis with schooners running free. Oh, Maryland, my Maryland, that's Maryland to me. I want to catch a blue crab in my net as ospreys circle overhead while paddling upon a quiet creek. I want to hear the geese a-swarming o'er the marshes of the eastern shore and see the skipjack sail the Chesapeake. And this is where the University of Maryland Marching Band comes by. Do, 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 Susquehanna flowing down to meet the Chesapeake. Harbor in Annapolis with schooners running free. Oh, Maryland, I'm Maryland, that's Maryland to me. I want to see the seagulls dance a jig along the shores of Assateague and build a little castle in the sand. I want to count my many blessings in the land of pleasant living. That's my Maryland. That's my Maryland. So I was with a musical group called Crab Alley, way back in the last century. And another group called FisherPoets Gathering. And we did original music about the Chesapeake Bay. But there's all kinds of wonderful, inspiring figures. There was a fellow named, well, I'll tell you his name. There was a legendary man from the town of Deal. Deal is a little waterman's village just south of Annapolis. So there was a legendary man from the town of Deal with a heart of gold and guts of steel. To eat a lot of oysters was his only aim. They called him Muskrat Green. As a little bitty baby weighed just 2 pounds, but he grew to be the biggest water man around. At 5'6", he weighed 235, with a belly twice as big as any man his size. He was a hard-eating, in an oyster-eating contest, nobody could beat him. He said, "They can't shuck him fast as I can eat him." He won every eating contest on the whole East Coast. He could chug a quart of raw ones like a cocktail toast. After downing 300 in a minute 5 seconds, he said, "Well, it's time for lunch, I reckon." Well, they sent him off to London town, the one near Wales, and this time what he had to eat was snails. Tastes like rubber is all he had to say, but he ate a record number of them anyway. He beat the best eater that the Brits could show, downing 2.2 pounds of escargot. He did it in 2 minutes and 43 seconds, and that got him in the Guinness Book of World Records. And back in Deal, they say Muskrat put that tiny tidewater town on the map. They made him honorary mayor of the town, and they put him in a limo, and they drove him all around. And now, he's up in heaven with all them heart pluckers, searching for the former world's fastest oyster shucker. He was the greatest oyster eater that the world has ever seen. He was Muskrat Green. It's a very true story, actually. So, I'll pick one more. Okay, good. So I'm going to leave you with a poem about something that really almost sort of happened. There was a pirate named Richard Clark, who in 1702 threatened to attack the city of Annapolis. And I wanted to commemorate this in a poem, but I couldn't figure out a way to make Dick Clark sound threatening, so I changed that a couple of years. Well, you might have heard the old men speak of the time pirates scavenged the Chesapeake. Here's the tale of one pirate, a bold pickaroo, who scoured the bay at the dark of the moon, swept down on his prey like an eastern typhoon, his cannons ablaze with a flash and a boom. Captain Doubloon was a scalawag's name, and you don't want to hear how he won his own fame. He ate hot pickled peppers in porcupine chowder, seasoned with sulfur and blunderbuss powder. While slopped in a goblet, he'd slobber it down, and his belch could be heard 29 miles around. Now the heat from the peppers had to suffice, for his veins carried nothing but water and ice. This cold-blooded creature he happened to be, with no trace of mercy or charity. He kept for his ship, make the crew walk the plank, and he'd never say, "Please, you're welcome," or "Thanks." One night, as the captain boy opened the door of the captain's cabin, he saw there hunched over a chart, old Doubloon, his wicked sidekick, their fierce faces lit by the spurry wick of a whale oil lantern hung from a low beam that swung as they plotted, conspired, and schemed. The cabin boy, Fitzhugh's boy, was known as Bonnie Hugh. When he swabbed into the captain's dog, he overheard the two conspiring to attack a town, wreak havoc in the streets, and steal any ships that were tied to the slips to build their pirate fleet. Bonnie Hugh cried when he spied the giant, felt a chill in the nape of his neck, for the town they had picked was Annapolis, the spot mark for the blackheads. Annapolis, Bonnie cried. They're going to attack it. They're going to burn it to the ground, and then they're going to sack it. Why, he'd swim ashore to warn the town, but that would cause disaster. For Hugh McCoy was a servant boy who had run away from his master. And runaway servants in those long ago days were treated no better than if they his slaves. If he showed up at his master's house, they'd beat him with a chain. They'd lock him into pillory stocks and shackle him in chains. So slipping ashore to warn the town of the picaroon's intent would only get poor Bonnie into deeper trouble yet. Through paced ship, hoping to trip on a good idea or two, when the sun went down and the moon came around and Annapolis came to view. "Man the guns!" a pirate cried. "Prepare to bomb the town. There's gold in this box for the man who knocks that new church steeple down." And as the pirates aimed their cannons by the light of the rising moon, Hugh McCoy went down below to grope about in the gloom. He stumbled into the galley where the cook prepared a snack, where his messmates were up on deck preparing to attack. He stirred hot pickled peppers into porcupine chowder, seasoned it with sulfur and blunderbuss powder. He slopped it in goblets all greasy and brown, and climbed up the ladder to pass them around. And Hugh crouched in the corner to watch them go, crouched in the corner by the hot stoves below. "A fire!" he gasped. The gas was fired. "I'll stop the attack, set the whole ship on fire." And he scooped out a pot full of hot glowing coals and scrambled to spread them around in the hold. He got up on deck. All the gunners were ready to fire at the state house dome and the tall church spire. But before they could set off their guns or their matches, huge balls of flame leapt up from the hatches. "Abandon the ship!" came the cry of despair as the billows of sparks leapt up into the air. And as the pirates leaped frantically over the rail, the fire leapt up into the rigging and sails. And so the ship sank with their holds on the flood, her bow spread in the air and her stern in the mud. And the pirate, he climbed to the crop of the mast, and he roared at the fate that had met him at last. "Buy me hot pickled peppers in porcupine chowder, seasoned with sulfur and blunderbuss powder. I'll get the varmint scallopy ship." And he roared, and he pulled at his beard with his fist. Meanwhile, the captain who had raked and sailed by in a barrel, knowing his life was in imminent peril. "'Twas I sank your ship, my dear Captain Doubloon, you pitiful pirate, you old picaroon." "You!" cried the captain. "You're just a wee snit. You burned and scuttled me beautiful ship, only plotting to plunder Annapolis' ruin. But you, what are you? This is all your vile doing." The boy cried out, "Fire, you Captain Doubloon. You'll not go a-plundering any time soon. When the governor hears of my deeds on this day, he'll grant me my freedom though I ran away. But you pitiful old picaroon, you'll swim from the gallows tomorrow at noon." "Strike me dead, that's true," cried the old picaroon, as obliging black clouds came to cover the moon, from which lightning flashed down with a crack and a boom, sending the old picaroon to his doom. And after the captain blew up in the air, little white drips seemed to drop everywhere. White icy drops of pirate's blood. Each icy blob of pirate's blood twirling its own way. Each swirling blob of pirate's blood twirling the tide became a stinging jellyfish. They say, or perhaps they lied. But if you take a summer swim out on the Chesapeake, and you suddenly emit a rather noisy pirate shriek, you'll have felt the jellyfish's sting, the fierce sea metal's wound. That's the sting of the pickled pepper, and the blood of the bold picaroon.
Well, that was excellent, excellent. Thanks, Jan. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being great audience, too. It's always great to allow these guys to focus, not have a lot of noise in the background. I can tell you guys are really into this, which is really great. We're going to take a quick break. Start in about 10 minutes. We're just a couple minutes behind, but we'll catch up very easily tonight because I think there's a couple of holes in the schedule along the way. So relax, get whatever you need. We'll be starting in here about 10.
Far away, far away, far away across the beautiful ocean, am I bound to sail all alone, far away across the beautiful sea, far away across the
the beautiful sea.